welcome to Traveling Inside Out. This is Alina, your host. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome back to the podcast that explores the world within and out. And thank you for subscribing to Traveling Inside Out, wherever you find your podcast from. So, welcome back, everyone. It's been a while. Um, I just want to start by saying that I am again live on YouTube right now. Usually, nobody joins me because very little people know about my, I guess, my account on YouTube of the podcast. Um, so the name of the podcast is Traveling Inside Out. You can find it. Also, I'm trying to get better at adding a few more snippets from the podcast online, so you can go and check that. But if you are interested in checking the video form of the podcast, you can also go on Traveling Inside Out on YouTube. Or if you go through Spotify, you have the option to see it as a video alternative as well. Whatever you want to do, just don't forget to like and subscribe and whatever it is that you can do, so then you know when I'm going to upload next time. Before I get into whatever happened and why is it a DIY fiasco, I want to say a few things. Even though this is not the DIY fiasco that I'm going to talk about, I do have to mention the fact that number one, I also decided to cut my own hair. So again, if you have video, you can see that I didn't do the worst job in the world. If you don't have video, I can explain to you. I have curly hair, a bit of curly hair, and it's difficult and it's very expensive in New York to get a freaking haircut. And I'm against paying over $100 for just a haircut. And I only needed a trim, and the trim was needed because my hair was disproportionate regarding the length. And so I decided to do my own haircut, and I actually bought scissors and everything. Anyway, I just wanted to say, when I decided to come back and tell you my story, the same day I tried basically another DIY, which was to cut my own hair, but this one worked. Okay, I want to tell you very shortly what it is about. It's about, long story short. Are you ready? I decided to change my own battery in my laptop being a MacBook Pro from 2017. And it's a story to tell. But before getting into that, I need to tell you one more thing, because I always forget and I really, really, really suck at promoting myself. Did you know that I actually have postcards from my travels that I made? So it's the pictures that I took during my travels with, it's, I would say, the best collection that I could come with, because I love sunsets. And I have a 10 postcards collection of 10 sunsets, which is a lie because it's 9 sunsets and one sunrise, but you will never guess. It's actually, if you ever guess, send me a message and tell me which one do you think it is. I'm going to show it again, so if you are having a video, then you get to see them. If not, you can go to alinaigrad.com/shop. So you can find them there. It's a collection of 10 postcards, and if you don't want to buy 10, you can also just buy 5. So I decided to make postcards with my favorite sunsets from my travels, and they are from like Iceland, and just 2 of them have my usual saying that I used to say at the end of the podcast in all the previous seasons, which is stay true to yourself and follow your dreams, which I still strongly believe in. but only two of them have the saying on them. So I have it from Iceland. Okay, I'm trying to see. From New York, from Peru, from Chile, from San Diego, Ecuador, Spain, Tunisia. These are the ones. You can either get all 10 of them or get any random 5. Um, Again, you can go on the website alinaigrad.com/shop and you can order. I don't have so many left, but I do have a few left. So if you are interested in doing that, and I also want to mention on the back, um, I have put the information about the podcast, um, just in case people are wondering. But I also wrote the year. No, I didn't write the year, did I? Just the place where it was taken, when it was taken, the picture. And as I was saying, I have the information about the podcast. Okay, that being said, let's get into it. What happened with my laptop? Before telling you why I decided to change the battery by myself, I mean, you can imagine, since I decided to cut my own hair because it was over 100, you can imagine that it's because of budget reasons. But let me first explain to you what's up with my laptop. So I bought the laptop in 2017, just before starting my South American trip, and it was refurbished. So I bought it refurbished, which, it's a little bit cheaper, but there might be some issues, which can be different sort of types, right? It was a very crazy learning curve because it was my first time having a Mac. So I worked on Apple desktop before, but I did a really poor job. I didn't do well, and so I think that this was quite a challenge, especially since I was using it for my travels in South America. Anyway, um, the whole year 2018 and 2019, like uh, end of 2018 and the whole 2019, I was in Romania, and I started having problems with my laptop, as in not charging. And I went to 3 different places in Romania. One was an official distributor or whatever you call from Apple, and the other ones were just regular fixing shop because the city where I live didn't have a Apple official fixing place, and they only had like 3 in the whole country, and then there would be some associates or something like that. And every time I went there, they were telling me that it might be that I need another cable, and I was basically kind of, honestly, I guess, gaslighted. I know I don't want to use this word, uh like, it's not easy to use this word, but I do want to say that I was telling people that something is wrong, and they were telling me like, yeah, no, um you just have to maybe replace to replace the charger, like the cable. And then the thing is that I bought another cable, and even then eventually it didn't work. So all in all, just so you know, I have 3. I mean, the original one finally truly gave up, but the other 2, like, I had 2 other cables. So I kept buying cables, I kept buying anything. And then the problem was that it wasn't always charging, and it was showing me battery needs to be um, serviced. So in 2020, when pandemic started and all of that, I in 2020 in December, I was in New York because, again, in Iceland nobody wanted to look at it. So I was in Iceland and I was in New York, and I was like, okay, let's go and check what's up with my laptop, because sometimes it's charging, sometimes it doesn't. I was starting to use it mostly with the cable in, but sometimes even with the cable in, if I wouldn't pay attention that it's not charging, I would have it cable in, and then out of nowhere, I would just be with my laptop would turn off. And I tried to go, so I went to I wanted to go to an Apple, but it was so complicated because they wouldn't allow people inside. You need to do it, I don't know what kind of scheduling, and people were queuing and with a mask and with all that, and honestly it was too much for me and my brain. So I went against it, but I still went to what's the name of the shop? Oh man, I can't remember. uh, the shop where people buy electronic stuff in US, with a blue buy something, buy Best Buy. I went there to their apparently gigs, whatever, and I went twice. Once I waited for like, I don't know, half an hour or an hour, just for the person to tell me I don't know what's wrong. And the second time when I went, they told me, yeah, no, unfortunately, this is what's up. You should just make sure that you have everything that's on the laptop, because when they die, they just die and that's it. So this is what I was told. And what I've after doing a lot of research online, I've learned that there's a way that I can reset. Like I do a combination of keyboards, and then I reset basically the network and whatever, and then it worked. Like it seemed that my port started working a bit better, even though one was almost never working and the other one was working so and so, and I only have two. So finally, last year I also wanted to. My plan was to ask my boyfriend at the time to buy me a battery, because I knew that the battery is like around $50, and to give it to my sibling back in Romania, because I was planning. So my boyfriend was visiting me end of May in Iceland, and then I would go to Romania in June. So I was like, he can buy the battery for me, and I was saying that he can buy the battery for me because buying anything in Iceland from abroad, you always pay extra taxes on everything that you buy, like every single thing. And so I was thinking, what if I'm just going to ask my boyfriend to do this for me, to buy it for me, bring it to me, and then I will take it to Romania and I will give it to my sibling, because he works in this kind of stuff to fix computers and stuff, even though he doesn't have enough experience with Macs, like not that much. Anyway, I was like, I'm gonna just do that. How about just doing that? And so I decided to do that. I did it. No, because in the end, I wasn't sure that I can make it. I wasn't sure if my sibling is okay with it, so I didn't do it. So for the problem was this: I would have my laptop without a charge, and in half an hour, even though it was like 70%, it would just go blank. It would just go dark, black. And I was not able to use my laptop without charging. So finally, since I've been here for a while, I was like, okay, I'm just going to buy a battery. I'm going to go online, check what battery. I asked my sibling to help me figure out what battery and how do I know what battery I need for my laptop. He told me to pay attention to a specific code, and I checked online, and indeed it was like $56. And then I checked with Apple, and it was 200 something dollars. And I was like, well, if I cannot pay $150 and I can just pay $50, I'm going to try. I'm gonna fucking try it. And then I looked online, and it looks that there's a lot of steps. There's a lot for who doesn't know, the Mac, like they don't, obviously the problem wasn't because they don't have the battery that you can. They have a inside battery that is below many screws and below many stuff, and it's really sensitive to take it out. And so I look online and I find a website that is explaining, they are selling the thing and also explaining step by step by step by step how to do it, written and also video. So I was like, okay, I think I'm going to do it. So I look on eBay, I think as well, and I look on that website, and then I realize that I think that website was on eBay. To the day, I'm still not sure if I ordered it directly from the website or from the eBay, and I'm gonna tell you why in a moment. So what happens is the following: on a random Saturday, which was by the end of April, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do it. I record the podcast about the honeymoon in Grand Canyon. I didn't upload it because I'm an idiot. There's no other reason behind it other than I'm an idiot. And then I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do this. Here I go. Here I go. And what happens? What do you think happens? First and foremost, it takes me about mm, 20 minutes, I think, to be able to just open the freaking flap. Like, it was so difficult. It was also a bit dirty and nasty, if you ask me. But it was so difficult because you need to hook on it in a specific way and to pull in a specific way. And I didn't have the pull force. So I was trying to hold on to it. And then my husband actually helped me. And the final, like, it only took me 20 minutes to only open the thing. The main thing, like, oh, I was already not feeling okay anymore. I was like, I don't know if this is smart. I don't know if this is smart at all. And so I start unscrewing stuff. The good thing is that when I received the battery, they also gave me two screws. I have them here. They gave me two screws again for the video. There are two screws that are specifically designed for using for Mac. So this was great that I had the screws because I also didn't buy, don't get me wrong. They were also providing a whole package with everything that would help you to do this change. But I'm a cheap girl, so I was like, nah, man. If they give me the screws, I'm okay. The screwdrivers. Sorry, did I say screws? Screwdrivers. If they give me that, I'm good. I'm good to go. Well, I wasn't because it took me 20 minutes to open the thing. Finally, I opened the thing. I finally make it to the freaking battery, but guess what? The battery was very well glued onto the part of the laptop, like the side of the laptop. And I didn't have any glue remover solution that they would have provided in the other package, obviously. But did I want to buy it? No. Did I regret it afterwards? For sure. Um, so it takes me probably 1 hour because I started using like alcohol, how do you call it? The we are saying spirit in my language. I can't remember. So the alcohol thing that you usually use a little bit even when you have a bit of a like a wound or something like that to seal down. So I was using with Q-tips and it took me forever. And in the process, I've damaged that battery. So I was like, there's no turning back because in the process of pulling and trying and pulling and trying and all that, having patience and pulling and la la la, I've damaged that fucking battery. So I was like, well, there's zero turning back possible right now. I have to commit. I have to commit to what's going on. Again, I just want to remind you, first and foremost, again, nobody's watching me live, but for whoever is watching later, hi, thank you for joining even if it's later. And as a reminder, this is Traveling Inside Out, the podcast, and for the ones who are actually listening on their usual podcast platform, sorry, I have to do this from time to time because people might be confused what's happening. Okay, so What do I do? I'm like, okay, I'm committed to this life now. I just have to keep pushing through. And so I do the mistake of, like, I remove the thing. And then I'm noticing that there's a very, very tiny cable that makes the connection between the battery and probably the motherboard or logic board or whatever it is. I don't know for a fact. And that one, I wasn't very sure. I was using, how do you say? Oh my God, my vocabulary is all over the place today. How do you call the thing for unplugging, for example, when you want to do your eyebrows? I can't figure out the word. Plucking device. Oh, what is it? Oh, I feel so stupid. Fucking English. Oh, I really don't know. In my language is penseta. I don't know. I can't figure out the I feel so bad right now. I can't figure out the word for that thing. But anyway, I was using that to put the tiny cable. There was a flat tiny cable that was supposed to be put in two pieces. The problem was that the new battery did not come with one. And I've only noticed after I've done that. So it took me a lot of time to remove the battery that was already broken and very bad. So you can imagine there was no turning back for me. And then I cleaned everything up, and then I realized, oh shoot, this is actually resting on the screen. So I was like, did I by mistake not paying attention? Did I scratch the screen? I did have a paper towel, but I should have had more than just a paper towel. And so I'm like, okay, well, this is it. The biggest mistake that I've done was to close everything up before trying to see if it works. And I remember from my sibling that I think he did mention this at some point that um, you should, before putting it completely all the way back, you need to check if it's working. So I didn't do that. And so it took me a little bit left to put it all back. I made sure that all of those screws, I knew where to put them. Everything was great. So I put it back, and I'm like, the moment of truth. So I charge it, and the laptop does not turn on at all. And so I check, what can I do? So I keep checking and I check, and I leave it for like an hour or whatever. I try to do the whole thing that I'm supposed to do when I have the new battery. And it's a few hours later and it's still not turning on. So I start to panic. And so I'm saying to my husband, and I'm like, I don't know what to do. So he's like, I can take it to my person. He can take it. So he's not always available on the weekends, but this time it's like basically around the corner. There's a place where, you know. And I was thinking, hmm, does this person have Macs usually to work with, or most of people have laptops like Windows kind of a thing? So he takes the laptop, he tells what happened, and then the waiting game starts. Long story short, it takes around 2 weeks. He's admitting that he hasn't worked that much on Macs, and he says that it's actually a problem with the logic board. And now, for whoever doesn't know, he said motherboard, but I don't know if it's called motherboard or logic board, whatever it was. It's the main thing of the freaking laptop. And usually, to change something like this, it's around 300 or can be up to $500. It can be really bad. And me not trusting, I have trust issues on a general level, but me not trusting anyone in general, let alone someone who's, so I was already like 2 weeks in. I was already 2 weeks in without the laptop. And let me tell you, my husband was amazing because he gave me his laptop. He didn't have his laptop for 2 months because of me. He had it maybe 2 days in 2 months because I was still working for the film festival back in Romania. I can tell you more about it maybe in another time. I don't know if people are curious about my film festival experience. But regardless, I needed the laptop to work, and I didn't have my laptop for the rest. Like, the festival ended, and I got my laptop when it kind of ended. Like, the festival is ended yesterday, or on Sunday. If you're listening now, it's now. But if you usually use it on Monday, it's on Monday. So on Sunday. So I didn't have my laptop. I was thankful to my husband, but also that laptop was like, ugh, I didn't like it, but it was the best thing that I could ever had since I didn't have mine. So I didn't believe him. And I decided, I was like, I want to go to Apple. And I know that Apple might say, we're not going to look at it because you put a different battery in. But I was like, but I'm going to try. So I made obviously you can't just go, so I made a schedule, and they were scheduled in that evening or something. So I went, I grabbed my laptop, and then I went to Apple. And let me tell you something, I honestly have any of you who are listening to my podcast right now, have you ever been to an Apple shop? I don't know. I have never been to an Apple shop in Romania, and I have never been to an Apple shop in Iceland. So my experience it's only from United States, from New York. I've also been to one in Florida. So actually I have in Florida and New York. Right? Right. But it really looks, I hope I'm not offending anyone, but honestly, if you're offended, like, then you are really not my kind of like person, because I say all sorts of stuff, and most of the time I'm being ironic and sarcastic. But they look like like in a cult. So I go there, I enter, and I'm telling them that I have a scheduling, and they're like, okay, just go and stay by that tree, because they have trees which I still don't know if it's like a tree, like a like an actual, I think it's fake. But it's so weird, and it makes me so uncomfortable that they do not have a desk where you can line up. There were just people around the tree. Like, what is this? I'm sorry. Why are we in 21st century, but your devices are still in the 20th? Like, can you explain to me this? Dear Apple, obviously not a sponsor, even though I do have Apple products, not a sponsor. But like, honestly, like, can you tell me this, please? Please, just explain it to me. So I decide to just stay there, and I was fascinated by watching people around. I was like, this is so, it's giving me a bit of anxiety of is secondhand anxiety possible, because it was giving me anxiety as a thought working there. Like, I can't hide behind the desk and make a difference between me and the customer. Like, oh, I hate it. Anyway, my scheduling time was way over, but eventually somebody calls my name, and I'm like, I'm gonna be very honest, because I do not, what I didn't want from them is to judge me for what I've done. I was just, I need you to just tell me what I can do, because what I wanted to know is like, did I fuck up the battery, or is it indeed in my process I fucked up the logic board, because I did not, in my opinion, touch the logic board. So I needed to know what's wrong with it. That's what I wanted to find out from Apple. So I go to the man, and he's like, how are you today? And I'm like, I'm great. So what seems to be the problem? And I'm like, it's not turning on. But I want to be very honest with you and told you that I changed the battery inside of it. And the guy looks at me and he's like, well, then I need to be very honest with you back. Unfortunately, because it's not turning on and because you changed, they are not going to look over it because it's a third party, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, but be honest, did you change it or did you go to somewhere? And I'm like, nope, I've changed it. And then it didn't turn on. And then I went to a corner shop and they told me that the logic board is broken. So I want to know if it's the logic board or if it's the battery. So the guy tells me, and For a moment, he stays like this, and then he looks at me, and I'm like, "Don't!" I literally told him, "Don't tell me not to do it because I've already done it." And he's like, "You," and I was like, in hindsight, maybe I shouldn't have done it. And he's like, "So you've already done it. I can't just say just then do it by yourself and just get another logic board because technically that's easier to do." And I look, yeah, I think I broke him down because I'm pretty sure he's not supposed to say that in their cult over there. He's like, "You've already done the damage, so might as well change your change." And then he tells me, "But let me show you something." So then he grabs a sort of a bracelet and he's like, "Look for buying this kind of bracelet." Because what happens is these laptops are very sensitive, and people who are working with them, they have a certain kind of a bracelet that helps with the electromagnetic waves or whatever, because you might have damaged it like that without knowing in the room where you were. So buy that bracelet first, then go ahead and change the logic board as well, because actually the battery is way more difficult to change than the logic board. And I was like, I love the fact that I was very honest with him, and he's like, "Okay, screw everything that they learn, they teach me. Let me be real with this person." And so I tell him, like thanking him, and then he's telling me, "But just so you know, we don't actually remove the battery. We don't unstuck the battery from it. We replace the whole thing that the battery is stuck to." And I'm like, "So that's why it costs $200. So maybe now thinking in hindsight, I should have just done that, but I didn't." So we continue with the story, because do you think it's over? No, it's not. I go back to the guy and I'm telling him like, "Okay, so I look, no, 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 I don't go. I first go online and I'm like, okay, let me see how much the logic board is." Unfortunately, everything that I was able to find was over $300, and it was pre-owned. So I was like, So I go back to the corner shop guy and I ask him, "So what's the situation?" And he's like, "It should be around $300." And I'm like, "You know what? If I give $300 to him, which is an insane amount of money." By the way, I forgot to say, I am using StreamYard. I am not in any way affiliated with StreamYard, but I am not paying for StreamYard because I just paid. I will tell you in a moment what was the final price, but I paid, like I was told, to pay $300 for my laptop. So I was reconsidering, should I buy another laptop? What should I do? And I'm like, I can't afford. This is a lot. Like, this is so sad because I barely made any money for the film festival, and now all of that money is gonna go to make my laptop okay. And so what happens is the following. I leave the laptop with the person and he's like, "Yeah, it's gonna take like 1 or 2 weeks." I'm like, "Okay." In less than a week, he's giving it back to me, or like something like that. So now we are, just so you know, now we are like somewhere end of May. We are now already end of May. By the time that all of that happened, it's already like around a month. So then I gave it to him, um, and he's calling me back in like, I think in 5 days. He's like, "I have it. It's working. It's okay." And I'm like, "Oh my god, amazing." So I go to pick it up, and then he's telling me, "I didn't actually have a charger for the laptop." And I'm like, "Couldn't you have asked? I have two fucking chargers that I'm not using because my laptop is away." So he's like, "I didn't have a charger for the laptop, so I was using this charger that is actually not strong enough, but it worked. Like, it worked for sure. It turned on. But take it at home, look over it, and let me know how it goes." So I'm like, "Oh my god, finally I have a laptop." So I have the laptop. I take it at home. I plug it in. First and foremost, it takes forever to log in. It gives me a black screen, which never did before entering the everything, like the password and everything. And then it doesn't look okay. And it's not charging. It says the battery not charging. like it's wrong. And I'm like, okay. So I leave it overnight, and at the end of the next day in the morning, I look and it's still not charging. So I'm like, nope, have to take it back. But meanwhile, during all of this time, so in the last month, out of nowhere, I receive another battery. And I'm being informed that I received a battery, and then I check all the information about the first battery that I received, and I don't have it at all. So, honest to God, I do not know if I ordered two batteries, if they send me one by mistake, if they send me one bad and one good. I do not know. What I know is that I have two batteries, one that I've already replaced in the laptop, and one that came like a week later. And I was like, what the fuck am I, like, what the hell is this? So I'm like, okay, this needs to, like, I'm already upset because it's taking too long. But before taking it home, I'm like, oh wait, I still had that podcast episode that was recorded, so might as well just publish it, even though no everybody's gonna be so confused like what's happening. I'm gonna just publish that really quick, and then I'm giving the laptop back to the guy. So I'm taking the laptop back and I'm giving him the other battery as well. And I'm like, he's like, yeah, I was thinking that maybe the battery. And I'm like, my this was my problem from the freaking beginning. But he is telling me, like, no, you had some water damage to the logic board. You had two problems. One was some water damage to the logic board, to the motherboard, and then the other one was a bit he was like, I see that you have some, like, you dropped it at some point, like it had some damage. And I'm like, yes, it does. Nobody needs to know about that. um so he's like, yeah, the logic board was really damaged. Okay. So I take him back and I'm like, okay, it's giving me a black screen. It's not charging. Here is the charger so you can check. Here is the password. And I felt so very exposed because I hate giving people my laptop because it's my life, unfortunately. I hate to say that, but it is. And um I'm giving him the other battery as well. He's like, oh, great, because now I can't really check what's the difference. And I was like, okay, awesome. So now it's taking like 2 or 3 weeks until I finally get it back. But just to explain, I keep going back and he's like, oh, I actually had to send the logic board back. So, because after checking the both batteries, it looks like they are giving the same kind of thing. So, for sure, it's not the battery, because what are the chances for both batteries to be not okay? So I'm actually gonna get back in touch with the logic board. The funny bit was when I replaced my own battery, he kept saying like, "No, I'm only working with original things. I would never have done this. I don't know where you bought it from. I don't know what this is it. Like blah, 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 all of that." And then he finally tells me that he's going to send the logic board back because probably that was not okay. And I'm like, so didn't you say, my friend, that you are having the best places from, like, the base products from the base places or something? So he finally says, he said it back, and the people said that the logic board was okay. And I'm like, so we go back to my battery actually not being okay. I'm like, I can't explain how frustrating this is, because now I can laugh about it. But like, I cried at some point during this time. I cried. I went away from my husband and I started crying because I was like, I can't, like, how on fucking earth. So finally, he's telling me that he actually ordered from somewhere else because they said that the logic board is okay, the motherboard is okay. So he had to order from somewhere, another place, and he replaced it again. And actually, the little cable, the little cable that I mentioned earlier, the little cable was not okay. And I'm like, I knew it, because it was too tiny and it was so delicate, and I had a feeling that I didn't do it properly. I had a feeling. I first thought that maybe I didn't connect it properly, but then I was like, oh, I don't know if I damaged it because it's so small and so sensitive. So I didn't have the proper tools and all that. And then he said that it actually burned with the logic board something. So all in all, I paid $270 for the logic board basically, and for him to replace that tiny cable. And I paid 56 or something like that dollars for the battery. Would have been cheaper to pay 200 something dollars for Apple to for them to change my battery. In hindsight, I know, yes. But back then, back in April, I was someone else, and I didn't think that it's gonna take me 2 months to recover my laptop, and 2 months and 200 wait 200 $320 to um get the battery and the logic board fixed. Now, granted, if he said that there was water damage, I'm gonna assume that he didn't lie to me. So, granted that probably the logic board was in need to be changed eventually anyway. But now I have a working laptop, and the final conclusion is the battery was okay. Other than that tiny cable that didn't come with, so maybe that tiny cable was actually damaged. I mean, about to be damaged anyway, or maybe that was also the problem that it wasn't making the connection very well. So me replacing that freaking battery, I did it correctly and it worked. So now he gave me the other battery and he's like, See if you can send it back." And I'm like, I don't even know because it's been 1 million years. Um so yes, this is what I've done. I Do I have regrets? Yes, a lot of money and time was wasted. But am I proud that I managed to change the battery correctly? Yeah, I am. Yes, I fucking am. Did I do it? I did it. Did I do it in the wrong way? Very much so. But is the battery inside of my laptop, the one that is working perfectly right now, changed by me? Yes, it is. What's the lesson? The lesson is sometimes you need to really think what is most important for you: time, money, or the proud moment of knowing that you managed to do it yourself. So obviously, two of them I fucked up, but the other one, yay me! So this is what I had to tell you. And I honestly, truly want to apologize because I know I have been overwhelmed in the past by just life and I wasn't feeling like recording a podcast. But lately, um, I was very sure that I'm going to make it and I want to start publishing like usual every week, because I want to get back to it and I want to try to get again listeners and try to focus on everything, because I enjoy doing this. I just don't enjoy promoting it that much, but I enjoy doing this. And then this happened, and then I disappeared for about 2 months. And again, it was not scheduled at all. It gave me quite a damage in my pocket. Um, so yeah. Now, what else I've done? Maybe I'm gonna make up another podcast episode in which I'm gonna say what else I've done in the last 2 months in New York. But for in 2 weeks, we are going to go to another city that I've never been to, and in another state that I've never been to. So you will have to follow me. Um, I don't even know where to tell you. Most likely, maybe on YouTube. I'm trying to stay away from Instagram, and on Facebook, I only accept my actual friends, or like people that I worked with. So, and I have to tell you. Okay, let me take them one by one. So, if you want to know more about the travel, I'm going to tell you obviously on this podcast and probably on YouTube. So, you can find on YouTube under my name, Alina I Grad, or Traveling Inside Out. I have two channels, so you can go on there, and I'm usually publishing shorts or videos or so on. I recently just published a short from Philadelphia when we went back in April. Okay, so I already forgot what I was about to say. What did I want to say? Oh, I forgot, unfortunately. I'm going to be so annoyed at myself. about the website. So my website, which is literally my name, Alina, my ex name, alinaigrad.com. I have to be very honest about something. It took me around 6 months to completely finish it, and now 1 year later, I don't like it anymore. It's so frustrating with the way that my brain works because I dedicated so much time and learning to be able to do it. And now I looked and I'm like, I don't like it. It doesn't look like a website. I hated it. So this is why I haven't published that much on, because I just don't feel like it's representing me anymore. And it sucks because I worked so much on it. So now, because I had this hit in my budget, I was really planning to just hire someone on Fiverr or something like that to just like, I want to keep the some main things, but I need to change it to look it more professional, and I don't have it in me to make the professional website. So I was thinking to hire someone on Fiverr, but right now I'm not producing any money, because, as I said, like, the money that I made at the film festival, I'm almost giving away for for fixing the laptop. So unfortunately, the website, it's still not something that I'm using that much. I really want to go back into writing articles. I really, really want to do that, but so far, I guess I'm not. I'm not. I don't know. I get distracted or whatever. But I also wanted to say that I have, hopefully, we will do this soon. So next month, maybe by the end of July, I want to try a new, let's say, a new content to add to the podcast, and would be once a month to talk with my best friend back in Romania, to just chat up with two women about their life and about whatever happens in the world. We talk on a daily basis, and I think it would be fun to bring someone else on the podcast. And because honestly, I wanted to do guests again, but it's too much for my energy currently to interact with other people that I don't know. And because of that, I decided to postpone the idea of having any other guests. But if you are interested in listening, I did have, I think, around maybe 20, 15 guests. Next time I should prepare maybe a link to my Spotify. You can go to my Spotify again, find it under my name, and try to yeah, I have the Spotify. I have like a playlist in which you can see all of the interviews that I ever took. Okay, and so, that being said, I explained about my hair. Don't forget about the postcards if you ever are interested in buying any. Again, you can go to alinaigrad.com/shop. Then I told you the story about my laptop, and I'm gonna soon go to a new city, also by train, new city in a new state. I am very excited because I also bought magnets with states and stickers with the United States, and I don't know where I'm going to put the stickers on. I don't know yet, but the magnets are going on the fridge, and I only put them when we are traveling in one of the states. Um, and yes, this is it. I've managed to record a full podcast with nobody watching me live, but I'm going to keep doing it until people are going to join. So I thank you for whoever is watching this later. And yeah, don't forget to subscribe and to do all of the things that would keep you in touch with me. And I guess this is when I say goodbye. This concludes today's episode. Thank you for listening and for reviewing Traveling Inside Out. If you want to get in touch with me, send an email to podcast@alinaigrad.com. And remember, your outer journey begins with inner work. Until next time, bye.